What's up, guys? Welcome to your 58th Android tutorial, I believe it is. And what we're going to do in this tutorial is access this edit text and also our list preference. So what I want you guys to do now is open up our data, open classes activity. This again is where we kind of set up our question for the most part, and we commented out some stuff. So we're going to add some additional information from our preferences in this class, since we had to kind of comment out some of these other lines from previous tutorials. So what we're going to do is basically set up again our shared preference little object for the most part. So we're going to say shared preferences, and we're going to call this get data as well, just like the last tutorial. It's going to be equal to the same thing. Again, we're just going to access the preference manager dot get default shared, and then get base context. Finish off our application, and now we're going to get some information as well from our preferences. Again, we have to import that, and we're going to set up an edit text, or we're going to set up a string, basically two string variables. I'm going to call first string edit text, or ET phone home, and what we're going to do is with ET here is we're going to again say get data dot get string this time, and again we need to access our key reference. So let's open up our preference XML here, and as for our edit text we used name, but that's what we're going to use, I guess. Basically, we're going to change our question from our preferences. And then also for the default value, we're going to say Travis is. Again, that was our default question for the most part. Alright, so now what we need to also do is set up our values, which will, or get our values for the most part. We're going to say string values, because again, even though we have the values equal to 1, 2, 3, and 4, which seem like they're integers, we set it up as a string array within our array XML. So again, it's going to be a string for the most part. So we're going to set our values equal to get data dot get string, because we're looking for a string as well. And then let's check out what our key was. Our key was called list. So we're going to say list. Finish that off, and then default value we're going to set up as because if you look at this, basically our default value we're going to say 4, something like that. Again, because it takes two strings within its parameters for the most part, a key string and a default value. Again, in case if our preferences doesn't have anything set, it's going to have a default value of 4. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set up our if, and we're going to say values. Again, you can't compare strings like string called values equals 1, even though basically our string reference could equal the value of, the string value of 1. We have to use a method such as content equals, and then we can say equals within parentheses 1. So basically, if our option 1 has been selected, our string value will equal 1, and we compare that string value to the string value of 1 right here. If that's the case, we can set up something within these parentheses. So what we're going to do is we're going to say our question, which is our text view that asks the question within this activity. We're going to say question equals, or set text to ET, which will again be our edit text from our preferences. So let's test this out, make sure it works, but again, that's kind of how we can pull from our preferences. Kind of just an overview or review of our last tutorial, but let's just make sure it works. Alright, so let's open up our menu, go to preferences, set the edit text to something like preferences are. That's what I set it up to. So we're just going to say preferences are. That's basically going to be our question if our list activity has the first option selected, which it does at the moment. but just to make sure it works, we're going to say option 2 is selected. So basically that question won't be asked. So let's go into our data, hit start, Travis is, and now let's go back, menu, preferences, change our list to option 1, which will set our value equal to 1, which again is a string, so we have to use contains or is equal to, or whatever method we use, content equals 1. So that's going to be the case because our value is set to 1 right now. So let's open up our data, hit start activity, and as you can see now it says preferences are, because that again our value is equal to 1. So it's going to allow us to use that edit text, which we converted into a string for the most part, and then we use that string to set the text of this question. So hopefully that kind of makes sense, again using the preferences and how to access them. If again we close the activity, everything is going to be set for the most part, and it's going to save and then kind of open up that saved data the next time we run our application. And so again our value is set to 1, and so it's going to be preferences are. So hope you guys kind of enjoyed that, understand preferences and how they can be useful for the most part, and I'll catch you guys in the next tutorial.